Excited. Hi guys, Kate Flora here. I happen to be at Fiona's home, so you get both of us on one screen today, which is exciting for our Core Confidence Facebook Live. What have we been doing here, Fed?
Well, hi Kate. Hi, Fiona Pearman. We have been doing some planning, thinking about the rest of 2018, but particularly 2019, and what we want to do with Core Confidence and how we want to share it, and some new programs and ideas that we want to take out into the world with you, but maybe even overseas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my favourite time of year when we get to set goals and take action, which is let's get my chapters wrong. Chapter 2? Yeah, chapter 2 of the book. So on today's Facebook Live, we thought we'd talk a little bit about this concept of grounded expertise. And it's a little bit of a mix of, I guess, a number of chapters in the book. It's around know your stuff. It's around be focused and present, and also be authentic. And the conversations we've been having quite a lot, really, in the last week or two, is around just this piece of how do I know what's true for me. And I was on a call with a client who's been through a whole bunch of stuff in the workplace, and they just look at rescoping roles and all that sort of stuff. And just kind of agreeing what that might look like. And she said to me, in the moment when I was talking with, my boss, I was really comfortable with the decision. And then, of course, over the next 24 hours, I went away, and, the monkey mind starts to take over, and ego starts to take over. And it starts to be like, what does that mean for my reputation? What does that mean? So all of this stuff started to ensue. So in the conversation I then had with her was, get really quiet and present and grounded. And that in and of itself, I think, is a skill. And we talk a lot about that in chapter 6, be focused and present. But I also, there's a whole lot more deeper layered stuff in that we do personally as well, which we might touch a little bit on today. Because I think just the importance of being able to get clear about what is true for you, so that you can then make decisions based on that. And I think some of the work we've done around chapter 6 on Be Authentic says, actually, when we think about this in context of confidence, perhaps I don't ask the question, I don't reach out, I don't do things because I'm not sure, I'm uncertain around what my truth is. And if I'm uncertain, I'm less likely to act.
Yeah, I think this is a really big topic and something that's close to our hearts, and we thought was so important to include in this book because, as you know, when we started really delving into what is core confidence, there's a lot of things out in the world that talk about the external aspects of confidence, but this is kind of a fundamental and a really important piece that is an internal aspect of core confidence, and we really have to connect into that because that's what this resource is all about. The more I can be in good connection with what keeps me grounded, what makes sure that I know who and what I am and how I'm showing up in a way that's absolutely true to me, that makes a lot of life a lot less effortful. We're able to flow more easily. We're able to know our truth. We're able to act on that, as Kate said. So definitely in the book, we talk about in Be Focused and Presence, tapping into your multiple intelligences. And one of the things that we know in our Western society is we've become really dependent on, and we've prioritised at a very high level, our cognitive intelligence. This is our wonderful brains, which are fantastic. And we're not at all suggesting we don't tap into those. They're a great source of intelligence. It's just when we prioritise them over everything else, we can forget or not remember how important it is to really tune into our body, and to our body is full of little tells and cues and ideas that if we just slow down enough to observe them, we can use that as part of this getting grounded and really being present to the moment. So, we talk about EQ, that's your emotional intelligence, knowing what's going on, and that's something we often talk about the heart center and that sort of thing. And then we also talk about gut intelligence, I feel something, I kind of know it, I can't give you a rational reason for it, but I know it. And when we're observing and we're connected to those 3 other forms of intelligence, as well as our cognitive kind of rational brain intelligence, we've got such a rich diversity to draw from, and we can really find out, okay, that feels true to me inside. It's not just something I've thought through and makes logical sense. It really feels like it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the trick, is to focus on the feeling. So much we're caught up in the head, and I said to this client, we could pro and con for days on which way to go, and I think we can in any in any scenario. We could make it right or we could make it wrong. And neuroscience shows us and research shows us that actually after the fact, the brain will always go and find information that will prove that we made the right decision. So the good news is you'll never make a wrong decision. And what I say to all of my clients is, and if you make a wrong decision, it's what information, what did you learn? What information did you get from that? I think, this piece around, there's a great quote in the book around fear that actually just talks about, the issue is standing still. The issue isn't getting it wrong. And if we're standing still and we're not making progress, that's kind of actually the challenge. All information is progress. If things don't work out, that gives you information that still moves us forward. Either we know something we didn't know before about what we want, or we know what we don't want if we think about deal breakers and things like that. So really hooking into, what am I feeling? And doing that not in a chaotic way, which is a triggered way, or I'm reacting, or I'm in chaos, and you'll know when you're in fight or flight, but doing it in a way that has me really strong and centered and grounded. And in that space, being able to go, what is true for me right now? And I think, there's a process here, and I spent years doing this, but there's a process on building trust in that. So building the feedback loop that says, oh, okay, I listen and I hook in, and I can trust what that feeling is. And, some of us call it intuition, instinct, or just, what's my truth? It doesn't matter what language it is, but the question is, how do you get yourself in that state? That's the first thing. And then the second is, then how are you actually building your relationship with that intelligence, with that deeper intelligence, so that you can actually use it as an anchor. And so for this particular client, I was saying, let's talk about how to get really grounded. We did an amazing webinar last week when I was in Melbourne with Penny Short, all around using the energy to create the life you want. We're talking about grounding. I've got my notes here, so I was just going to reference some things, which is, actually being able to articulate how am I feeling and give voice to, I'm feeling a little bit agitated today, or I'm feeling agitated, or I'm confused.
That acknowledging feeling is such a powerful thing, because as soon as you acknowledge it, it's almost like some of the charge in it dissipates. So, it's such a great thing to, I'm feeling agitated, I'm feeling a bit upset, I'm feeling a bit nervy or distressed or whatever it is. Noticing that, articulating it, settles it to a degree. And it also gets you in better connection with what's happening, so you can access that anchor, as Kat's saying.
Yeah, and there was another really beautiful thing, and that's putting your hand over the thymus. She was mentioning that we always do this in overwhelm. So there's some level of that, but actually if we put our hand over our thymus, and I'm pretty sure it's here, and just kind of hold that, and that can help ground us as well, which is a really nice one to do, maybe not at the board table, but you could certainly do it sitting at the desk, or duck into the bathroom in terms of that space. Breathing is always our go-to, right? When we talk about being focused and present, we talk about resilience and being able to hold yourself out of fight or flight or freeze. Breathing is the fundamental piece. So, being consciously connected with the breath and how quick it is, how shallow it is, and ideally longer breaths and more full breaths. And then I love these two. Laughter, a good belly laughter. So, have that person that you can get on the phone to that is, we all know, right? When you kind of have that, go out with those friends and all you do all night is laugh. So, what is it? Is it there's that great crazy IKEA ad, which is, things couples never say when putting together IKEA furniture. But have some of those things, or a video, personal video, or just have some stuff that will bring a smile to your face, that will change your state, that will make you laugh and smile, so that you've got those on hand as resources to be able to change your state, and then use that to bring you down. Of course, the last one, two things, swimming in salt water and bath in Epsom salts, if you've got access and proximity to either of those two things, are other ways that you can really look to ground. So I think there is this piece around how you really consciously getting yourself in a good state to then be able to tune in to those intelligences that you were talking about and notice what is it that I feel. Because, you know, I think the beautiful things around our magnificent brains is we're very creative, and we do come up with all these stories. We often do think we're the center of the universe, and that, you know, everybody in the office cares enough about us to spend so much time thinking about what we've done and what it means for them. Most of the time they're not doing that. But the brain can be incredibly active, and it's kind of like, okay, yes, all of that's possibility, but what's my truth right now as well?
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing to know what is it that works for me. So, you know, we've given you a range of things, or by a penny, a number of things that work, and it's practicing, trying these things and seeing what works for you and doing more of that. And the clearer you get, the more it'll just become instinctive, and you won't even need to think about it. Like that hand up to the thymus can just be something, it might only be for a few seconds, but it just helps you get more grounded. I know for me, getting into salt water always is a fabulous thing. Always has been since I was a small child, and I find it incredibly not just invigorating but grounding. So once I've done that, I'm kind of ready for the day, and anything that comes at me, it doesn't seem to hit me as hard because I've got that kind of I've had that experience, and it's in my body for the day. And the piece about breath work, and one of the things that Kate and I do, and we work with someone who's a facilitator and an expert in breath work, is make sure that I'm allowing myself enough time to breathe. So as soon as you notice that agitation, or, we did a piece of media around inner critic, that inner critic comes up and starts, making those stories in our head and telling us ideas. There's just that moment at which if you can catch yourself and just say, I'm just going to take a few breaths now. It might only be 60 seconds. It might only be 3 or 4 long, deep breaths. And that can shift so much in that time and help us feel much more grounded and in connection with ourselves and what's going on, so we're not so flighty and reactive. And that's a really powerful thing. So breath, it's fabulous if you can do longer, 10 minutes breath work, meditation, all of these are wonderful for getting grounded. But if you don't have that much time, even, a couple of deep breaths, 15, 20 seconds, but a minute is incredibly powerful in tapping into, your sense of being grounded.
Yeah, and another great tip I heard, I'll move on to expertise in a minute because we weren't going to go super deep into this, is, and this is really useful in an office environment when you start to feel triggered, is really tapping into the senses. So it's presencing and says, I see butcher's paper, I hear wind chimes, I smell flowers, I feel neutral, and so just kind of hooking in. Did I miss any of that? I taste. But really hooking into, and you don't need to say it out loud. It can just be obviously, I see, I hear, I feel, and it's really just presencing you, and just that process in and of itself can bring you down from wherever you happen to be in terms of where the mind's gone. So I think a really critical skill that we don't focus enough on, I was really struck last week that, and we have all, and you and I have done stacks of work in this space, we have all these tools around meditation, breath, the natural environment to help hook us in and hold us in our grounded space, that we don't leverage it as much as we could. And I think that's, how often do we do that generally in life when, there's things around, there's the solution or the strategies or the resources are in our toolkit and we're not just using them.
Yeah, I think this is something that it comes up always in coaching, men and women. It's something that's always there, that for some reason they've got distressed or agitated, they're second guessing themselves, they're having these conversations in their head, and then our role very much is to help them get reconnected and grounded so they can actually make a good decision, a clear decision from a place that's not full of kind of anxiety and stories and that sort of thing. So it's very important.
So if we talk about grounded expertise, and we've really talked about grounded, and I think there's a real clear call to action here, which is know what works for you. The ocean might not work for you. The breathing might not work for you. Meditation might not work for you. Go and figure out what works for you. And there's loads of, in fact, I think there's endless techniques. I was talking with a client the other day who was kind of saying, almost, she saw a psychologist who has said, stop reading all these books and, stop finding all these things. Tapping is another strategy. But just know what works for you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How many you've got, but just at least have a couple in your toolkit. That means you can really come in, because where this hits the road professionally, I mean, it serves us on so many levels personally, but where it hits the road professionally is how are you then showing up and who are you in the workplace. And so there's a big piece around personal brand and authenticity, and the being grounded allows you, or brings, I guess, is a pathway in to show up in a way that is true and confident. And then how are you navigating conversations around, and this starts to talk a little bit to identity around what is it that I know and what is it that I don't know. And I think, to be in that moment and say, okay, I'm the expert, and I think increasingly that's even hard to say, but this is what I know and this is what I don't know. And that actually I'm comfortable, I'm grounded enough in who I am to be able to go in this moment that says, actually, I'm really comfortable and confident to say, yep, I don't know. Let's, haven't thought about that question. So if you get asked a question, actually haven't thought about that, anyone got some thoughts or views on what that might look like, or tell me more about it from your perspective, so that you can really orientate into both. And even in the category where you feel like you are the expert, or it is what you know, this is a subject that I know, that in that I can be really unattached to it and be comfortable if there is something that comes up that I haven't discovered, thought about, isn't in my world, and then I can just be really open and curious to what that conversation might look like. And so I think, it allows you to sit in both.
Yeah, and this is such a relief, really, because I think particularly as we grow up and we get a lot of accolades and recognition and acknowledgement for knowing stuff. So we become quite addicted and quite used to being told how good we are at something and how smart we are, and that's the thing. And that's useful on one level, but if it means that our identity is caught in that knowing stuff, it makes it really hard, because as we discuss in the book, and really pretty much this now, because there is such an enormous amount of information available, and it keeps doubling on itself every few months. You cannot retain absolute expertise in really anything for any extended period of time. And this ability to go, I love this topic, I'm going to research and I'm going to know it well, that's great, but not being, as Kate said, attached to the fact that I have to know everything and I have to have all the answers, because that's where we can trip ourselves up. And our confidence, if our confidence is tied up in that I need to know, or I need to be able to answer questions, it's so easy for it to slip away from us. And when we're much more relaxed and we're able to, tap into that grounding, we can respond in truth and with integrity to say, yeah, look, I've done a lot of research around this and I know a lot of things, but actually that's a new angle for me. I haven't really come across that, but I really like to explore it some more. Would you like to take this offline and do a bit more work on it with me? Or would you like me to come back with some other ideas and opinions and share them with you? And you can just really respond in a calm and neutral, easy way, because this is your domain. You've got a good level of knowledge, and you don't have to have every answer for everything.
And, this starts to then talk into things like face fear, perfectionism, because, our model of success for most of us has really relied on work hard and know your stuff. So that's often how we succeed in education, in high school. That's how in the early years of our career, that's how we progress up. The reality is, though, pretty much after 5 years of experience, so I say late 20s, everything starts to change. And success is a function of way more than just work hard and know your stuff. So, acquiring more knowledge, working hard isn't the pathway to success. It's certainly not the pathway to core confidence. So, I think if we really hold that, being able to be clear about what I know and what I don't know, and it's the permission to not know, I think that's super important here. And then dealing with whatever comes up, and that a lot of that is around fear, fear of what people will think, around reputation, but really important to hook in and deal with that, because we see so many, particularly women, but I'd say it's a male, female, general observation. So many people who whose response to a lack of confidence in a scenario is to work harder and to study more, so go and do a course, or if in a scenario, if I'm preparing for a meeting, will spend hours and hours on their content, so that at no point could they ever get a question that they don't know the answer to. And the reality is that is almost impossible to do, and the opportunity cost of that is so significant.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable. Like, we've got to be practical about things too. And so it's great to know things and to be knowledgeable. And the reality is, we've got to be able to be flexible and nimble and work with what is. And if you're having to spend hours and hours on one particular thing, in today's workforce, that just won't cut it. We expect people to be able to do multiple things, to be able to move quickly, to be able to solve problems, and to be able to draw on others. And it's not enough to just reside in your expertise. And that's why, in the chapter on working hard, we talk about working hard strategically, so that you're being very conscious about what you're spending your effort on and what the reward is for that. And in Know Your Stuff, we're very interested in this grounded expertise, so that you're not cut off or discombobulated by new information and new questions.
So lots of takeaways from today's session, very much around kind of this concept of being focused and present, chapter 6, this concept of grounding, go and know your 3 go-to strategies to help really keep you present. And then this concept of, what is it that I know, what is it that I don't know, and permission to not know. I think that's the crucial one. So, if as we talk about that, you kind of, it agitates you or it triggers you, then that's a really good conversation to start, which is, okay, cool. What is it that I want to be known for? And here we start to jump into the whole conversation around personal brand. But what is it that I want to be known for? And, what is it that I'm comfortable not being the expert in? And I think that is a new thing for people to start to do, but a really potent thing. And look, there's so many different places we're going to wrap, but there's so many different places we can go around. What are the strategies and tools then for what you don't know, build relationships, partner with people. But all of this is around how do I show up in the workplace in a way that's really true for who I am, and a way that means I can be the best version of who I am, that I can do things better, faster, quicker, which is what corporates are wanting, but do it in a really sustainable way. So I think we'll wrap there.
Yes, yeah, I think the piece about noticing and acknowledging what's going on for you right now is a great place to start. If you can't do anything else, just at least that one little thing, that's a good one.
Yeah, cool. Well, have a great Friday. If you're listening to this later on, we'd love your comments, questions, post them below, share this, share the Core Confidence message with your network. We're excited about all the feedback we're getting and super excited about the conversations that we're having with many of you around your experience of the book. So have a great day and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.